I'm sorry you told me that.
And I lucked into a bag of chocolate-covered cherries.
Ooh!
Yeah, Dwayne and I finished them the other day. They were wonderful.
Nice.
Seconds taste just as good as the regular ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Try that, Mike.
I love that kind of thing.
Just now you know, David, whenever you're in the area. Hilliard.
Oh, stop in Hilliard, see what the seconds are.
Yeah, I didn't know, but Elijah was poking. He wanted to poke around in Hilliard's on Monday, so we went in.
Ah.
I was giving him a driving lesson, and it was, like a stop.
Did I hear seconds of candy at Hilliard's? It's right near us.
I know. Ruthie, do you know how close that is to my house?
I know it's close to my house. Anything's close if I want to go.
Yeah, but I was just saying
What
that
kind of chocolate? I missed this whole thing.
I had a good time in there with Elijah. He wanted to see what they had on, if they had anything on sale after Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
And they don't discount their regular candy after the holiday, but they did have a section of little bags of chocolates like this.
What's the other side? What kind of chocolates? I'm nosy.
Ooh, those
And
look
they
good.
call them sweet imperfections because the
Cute. Cute.
like the shape isn't quite right, or
They taste the same. I gotta go for 5 minutes. I gotta go to the bathroom. Sorry.
Okay.
She's actually running to Hilliard's.
I
So
couldn't
folks,
get
let's get
what's
started.
wrong with them, and they tasted wonderful.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Let's get started, folks. The book. So, up to you, of course, but as we are really getting into learning whole prayer and large pieces of prayers, I am going to wear a kippah for class, as I wear a kippah when I say Jewish liturgical prayers. Totally up to you, but just to let you know what I'm doing, and you can think about if you'd like to or not. So I asked you to do some homework last week that was centered mainly around practicing the Torah Aliyah blessings with a partner. A couple of other things too. So tell me, how did it go?
Okay.
It went well.
It went well.
Matt and I did it several times.
Excellent. Will Nat be joining us today?
She is, but right now she's tearing the hair out of her head trying to get through to the Massachusetts vaccination.
Oh, give up for a while.
We did it all morning.
my goodness.
Oh, did you get it?
No, we
No,
got.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry. Talk about the vaccinations outside of class, please.
Aw.
Take the whole class talking
Are
about
we talking
vaccinations.
Hebrew?
We're not doing that.
just so you understand her mood when she gets back here.
Okay, well, thank you for the heads up. I'll be gentle with her.
I think you're right.
So what I'd like to do is give you the opportunity to do a false aliyah, make-believe aliyah to the Torah right now in our class, in which the volunteer to be leading it will do the the part that the leader, the person saying the aliyah does, and the rest of us will be the congregation doing the congregational response. To sort of, that'll be a good simulation.
Okay.
Would anyone like to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Penny.
What page? 54?
So
54.
Yeah.
54,
I'm going to do the first line, then you guys are going to pretend to be the congregation, huh?
correct. So the way this will work, actually, if you have your Siddur,
You rather do that?
you could stay on page 54, but why not look at it in the Siddur on page 142?
The printing's smaller, that's why.
Oh, if you would rather use, if you'd rather
Ruthie,
use,
I'm not gonna get
Who
up
else
and
can't see?
get to work then.
But I'll try it.
Wait a minute. Let me-
So the first line is done by the person doing the aliyah. Second line will be all of us. I'm not muting anyone, so that's the only thing you should say if you're not the person doing the aliyah, Penny in this case. And then Penny's going to do the first, the
Okay.
blessing before the Torah reading, and then the blessing after the Torah reading.
Are we singing it, David?
Yes, singing.
Okay.
Is it
Good.
okay if I use the text, the book because it's big print?
Sure.
I
If
mean,
you're
I can-
if you're more comfortable
I can do it
using
with the book with the
page
magnifying glass or
54,
without the other book, so.
whichever you'd like. I just want you to know you could use either one.
What
Whenever
page?
you're ready, Penny. Actually, wait, Penny, what's your Hebrew name?
Panina. Panina by
Panina?
Yitzhak for Sarah. Panina
Panina.
by Yitzhak for Sarah.
Yitzchak Basara, okay.
Minute, page.
Ta'amod Penina bat Yitzchak Basara la'aliyah harishona. That's good. Notice that Penny took her imaginary talit and touched the first word of the Torah reading and kissed it. That's what you do before you start.
Mhm.
Touch me, kiss.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
And
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Vahed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen. And here's where the Torah reading goes. And now we're finished.
Reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Nice.
Amen. Yashar kochech, Penny. That was
Nice voice.
beautiful.
Join the
Beautiful
choir.
voice.
I know, I was thinking that. She should join the choir.
I was thinking that too.
All right, who would
Up a
like
little
to
far
do
away
the
without a
second
car.
aliyah?
Oh,
It is a little
Yeah.
far.
I'll do it.
I do it all the time. All right. Ruthie, would you like the second aliyah?
But who had Adonai?
Wait, your Hebrew name.
I'm sorry, Rella.
Rella?
Rella, not the whole long thing or just Rella?
All right, I'll just say Rella for today.
Okay.
Ta'amod Rella la'aliyah hashniya. So first touch and kiss.
For who at, I'm sorry. For who at Adonai Hambarak.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen.
And here's the Torah reading. Now I'm finished. Before you say the blessing, don't forget to.
It's the Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen. The old Yashar Kochech, Ruthie. The only thing I would say is right before that last blessing on the second one, V'chayei olam nata, not nota.
Wait,
Nata.
I'm sorry, what line? We're talking about the top of, the very last
Um,
line of the.
We're talking about the last line, the third word on page 55.
Nota.
Nata, nata, not nota.
Mhm. Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Who would like the third aliyah? Steve, for your Hebrew
Okay.
name?
Shlomo ben Couple.
All right. Ya'amod Shlomo ben Kapol aliyah hashlishit.
For who at
Hey,
Adonai
Steve,
Hamvorach.
Steve, before you do that, you have to take your talit and touch the first word of the Torah reading.
Okay. I do have my yarmulke.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed.
I had to go look for it. Or who at Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Baharbanu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Here's the Torah reading.
Baruch Atah
Hey, before you have to
Adonai.
touch the last word of
Oh.
the Torah reading with the talit and kissing.
Can I have the other sleeve?
Insurance extension. Every time I get a little further.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'toheinu Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach, that was beautiful, Steve. Who'd
Thank
like
you.
Aliyah number 4?
Where are we, Mike?
Right here. Let's do it.
Becky?
Aliyah number 4.
You can't run away.
I got Rudy's copy.
All right. All right. Mike is all ready.
That's Rudy's little tellus.
Look at that.
Oh, my goodness. Mike, what's your Hebrew name?
Menachem ben Laban.
Ya'amod Menachem ben Laban la'aliyah ha'revi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. And now's the Torah reading.
I thought you were singing with me.
Don't forget to touch the last word of the Torah reading before you start with the talit and kiss, Mike.
Okay.
Are you doing it after the Torah too?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful, Mike. All right, who would like Aliyah HaChamishit, the 5th Aliyah? All right, Hannah, what's your Hebrew name?
Chaya Malka. Let's see. My dad is Rachmael.
Okay.
Yiddish. I think it's Yiddish. I don't
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
Hebrew. And my mother was Miriam. So
Miriam.
Yeti
Amod. What?
Yeti Miriam.
Yechi Miriam?
Yeti. It's
Yeti.
Yiddish again. Yeah, Yeti.
And what is your name again? I forgot.
Chaya Malka.
Right. Ta'amod Chaye Malka Bat Rachmiel V'Yeti Miriam La'aliyah HaChamishit. Touch and kiss the talit.
Oh, almost forgot. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai.
No, no,
What?
you repeat,
Repeat.
you
Right.
repeat that second
Oh,
line.
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Baruch hu Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch. It's Baruch.
Baruch. Oh, I'm having a bad day here. Okay.
Start again.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Okay. Now keep going.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful. And now the Torah reading. Torah readings ends. Good. You're touching the last word.
Okay.
This last word?
Of the Torah, honey. It's in make believe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'natan olam. I'm sorry.
V'chayei.
V'chayei olam natan b'tochenu.
Time out. It's not
Huh?
Natan. What is it?
Nata.
Nata. That's
Did
the
I put in-
50th word in this.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay,
Nata b'tochenu. Take it from
V'chayei
there.
olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai Notain HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Yasher kochech.
And I kept skipping ahead.
Aliyah 6. Aliyah Hashishit. Anyone? Natalie, what's your Hebrew name?
Natalia ben Bat Ephraim.
Okay. Netanya bat Ephraim. Ta'amod Netanya bat Ephraim la Aliyah Hashishit.
Right here.
First you touch and
Baruch.
kiss. First you touch the Torah and kiss. First word of the Torah reading.
Right here, right?
Baruch Hu.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamrach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch
Okay.
Adonai Hamavarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bacha Banu B'kol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Now I'm reading the Torah. Now I finished. So now you touch the last word. Good.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Beautiful. Yasher kochech, Natalie. Would anyone like Aliyah 7? Aliyah HaShvi'it. It's only for volunteers and one cannot volunteer someone else in my classes.
Now my seat was wobbling. It wasn't anything else. It's just one leg is
Okay,
shorter.
no pressure. So let's move on to something else. I hope you all enjoyed that. I did. I could see several of you are like approaching perfect readiness for your bar and bat mitzvahs. So,
Do I have to do it again?
what?
I don't have to do it again, do I?
At your bat mitzvah. So, I don't know about you, but like there was a time when I was a kid that there were some kids that their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah basically consisted of just going up for the aliyah and doing the
Yeah.
blessing.
Oh,
We
no,
don't
no.
do that at our temple.
I
We
read
make kids
Torah
learn
and
a
I
lot.
did it as an adult.
What?
I did it as an adult.
Ah, great. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to have a time-limited discussion of us as a group about some aspects of the meaning of this series of blessings that we just did for the Torah reading. So for that purpose, let's read it in English. So to do that, I need one volunteer to be the person. So we're going to do sort of the same thing that we just did, but in English. So meaning one person will volunteer to do all the leader parts, and the rest of us will respond with the congregational part, which is the second line of, let's use the translation in this,
Oh, okay.
page 54.
I like that better. Thank you.
So the second line is the congregational response. That's then repeated. Can I have a volunteer to do this in English?
To chant it in English?
Okay, Annie.
Okay.
You don't have to chant.
Right?
Bless the eternal one, the blessed one.
Okay.
Everyone.
Blessed is the eternal one,
the
blessed
blessed
one, forever and
and
ever.
ever.
Blessed is the eternal one, the blessed one, forever and ever. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who chose us from all the peoples and gave to us God's Torah. Blessed are you, eternal one, giver of the Torah.
Amen.
Very
Excellent. Now
nice.
reading Torah. Another blessing after, Annie.
Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who gave to us the Torah of truth and life of eternity implanted within us. Blessed are you, eternal one, giver of the Torah.
Excellent.
Great breath control.
Amen. We should
Nice,
do that more
Annie.
often at services. People might have some idea what this is about. So, what's the word that comes up in this more than anything else?
Blessed.
That's it.
Blessed.
Right.
So I want to talk about this word blessed. What does it mean to bless someone? Or to say someone is blessed? Steve?
To wish them well in the eyes of God.
To wish them well in the eyes of God. Other ideas. What do we mean when we say someone is blessed or we want to bless someone?
Have them good fortune.
That they should have good fortune? Okay.
Bless the eternal one, you're blessing God.
Yeah.
That good
Becky?
things shall flow to them, which is
Oh,
sort
good
of
things should flow to them. Good. Becky?
So I have a question about the whole thing. Who is blessing God? I mean, God is the source of all blessing, but why do we say blessed be God? What does that mean to bless the source of all blessings?
Okay, I could just go home because that was my next question.
Okay.
That,
You
so
are,
this is a
home.
very peculiar thing. Thank you, Becky. I could just go home. I am home.
So we'll just come over.
Right. So what I was getting at, and thanks for saving us some time, Becky, is that what we usually mean when we say that a person is blessing or that we want to bless a person doesn't make a whole lot of sense when applied to God. We mean somebody said good things should happen to them, that they should have good fortune, that something in the eyes of God, all things that don't apply to God, that someone has a gift from God is another aspect of blessing. So what do you think of Becky's question here?
Giver of the-
Why would we say bless God? How does that make sense? Since God doesn't need good fortune to happen to God. God doesn't need for things to go well. Ruthie?
Does it tie in that we are created in God's image? So that if we're blessed, he's blessed? No.
I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean.
I don't know if I know what I mean.
So if God is blessed, we're blessing God because if God is blessed, then we're blessed.
Yeah, in the same
Oh, that's an
way.
interesting idea. I'm not totally sure I understand it, but I like it. Hannah?
Is it more like praise or thanks? Maybe thanks or praise would be a better word there than bless.
So that's an interesting comment because if anyone still has page 142 in Siddur Sim Shalom open, you'll notice that every place that it says blessed in this book, it says praised in this book.
Oh, big difference.
And that's not only true here. Any blessing, the discussion we're having doesn't just apply to these Torah Aliyah blessings. It applies to making motzi, kiddush, the blessing to over Borei Priya Eitz before you eat an orange. Shehechiyanu, anything that begins Baruch Atah Adonai.
Blessed are you.
Right? And so some Siddurim, including Siddur Sim Shalom, have decided this is too confusing to use the word blessed. It doesn't make any sense. And what they really mean is we're praising God.
Yeah. But why do they translate it blessed then?
Because Baruch means blessed. That's the problem with that argument. That
right.
Baruch means blessed.
What is the Hebrew word for praised?
Praised. I think it's like Tehillah. Norm,
Going back to the blessing, the maybe if we're saying the blessing that elevates us, that we know enough we know enough what God's attributes are and what the Torah's attributes are. So when we say blessed are you, we're doing it from a level of knowledge of what we're saying. In essence, we're also blessing ourselves for blessing God.
how is it blessing ourselves? Like it bounces back?
No, because we know enough of the goodness of God to think that that should be a blessing.
So we're sort of acknowledging God's goodness, which is a blessing to us. That's an interesting idea. Hannah,
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of the dictionary. So an archaic meaning of the word bless is to protect or preserve. So maybe we're asking that when we ask for blessings, we're asking for protection or preservation of what we already have. So maybe we're also asking that God is protected.
that doesn't seem to me to help matters, since God shouldn't need our protection.
Well, maybe, I mean, how do we know? So,
Well,
so
true.
maybe we're asking, maybe, who knows, maybe there is something bigger and
Mhm.
we're saying, we hope God will always be there. Protect God, keep God there forever for us.
Right. So
Maybe.
I'm going to take two more comments because we could talk about this all day and not learn any Hebrew, but I don't want that to happen. So Becky and then Ruth, I'm going to make one comment after them. Go ahead, Becky.
So I was thinking in terms of how parents feel when their children do something right, that we say we are blessed. And maybe by saying these prayers, which is part of God's commandments, we make God feel blessed that the chosen people are doing what God has told us to do.
I like that. That's nice.
To start to snow.
So by the way, there isn't any right answer that I'm looking for here,
I'm right.
except Becky.
See what I have to live with, David?
Lucky you.
I was
Pretty
thinking the
much, she's
opposite.
better you'll
Um,
You're right.
So no right answers here, or no wrong. Maybe we could come up with a wrong answer. Maybe there are many right answers. They're all only ideas that might make sense to us. And Becky also said something that many people say when she asked her question, that God is the source of all blessing, and that using this language, Baruch Atah Adonai, is acknowledging God as the source of all blessing. So a bracha is an active acknowledgement of God. Ruthie, last comment.
That's kind of maybe where I was going. I thought maybe when you bless God, it's an idiom. It doesn't really mean the same as when we are blessed. It's
Mhm.
more active. It's like together, it means something else.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. My next question for you is, I might have mentioned this, but the first two lines are the same as what prayer that we might know?
The candle blessing? No, yeah.
The Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Is it the candle blessing? I don't know.
It's not candle blessing.
No, I'm trying to figure out what it is when I have.
Is it the
Is
Hanukkah?
it the Amidah?
Not the Amidah.
Oh,
It's just these two lines. It's just these two lines appear someplace else in the service.
Is it right after the Shema?
It's right before, it's before the Shema. It's not
the Baruch
immediately.
Hu?
So it's Baruch Hu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penny got it. So it's Baruch Hu. It's the same words as Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamivorach, right?
Yeah.
And so So those two lines don't seem to have anything to do with the Torah that we're about to read. It's just about blessing God. What do you think? Any ideas of the purpose of those two lines? Here and maybe also in Baruch.
Warm us up.
I'm not here.
What was that, Ruthie?
To warm us up, it's like a warm up for exercise.
Kinda. Maybe we'll expand on that in other people's comments. Steve?
Is it in respect because we are about to read from the Torah? Because we've opened the Torah and we're going to be, that's the most holy book that we read from, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something to that too. Let me just, before I take more comments on this, let's just talk about what these two lines, the translation, does. Or not the translation. The first line, bless the eternal one, the blessed God, that is, it's in the language of the imperative. It's in the language of do this, right? So it's like an invitation. The person who's leading that is asking the congregation to bless God. And that's why the congregation says the second line, where they are blessing God. And then the leader repeats that blessing and then goes on to the things that are more specifically attached to the Torah. So that happens both in Baruch Hu and here. So I'll open back up to comments, or anyone wants to say anything about that, or Norm.
Well, the Baruch Hu, I thought was in essence, letting the congregation know it's a call to prayer. It's
Correct.
trying to get everybody's attention to focus on what we're going to do.
Absolutely, because we're going from the stuff before Baruch Hu in the service is like a warm-up. It's a spiritual warm-up. We're usually saying psalms or introductory blessings to get us through the transition from day-to-day regular mundane life where we might be fighting traffic or doing some work to the holy space of saying the Shema and the Amidah. Baruch Hu is the dividing line, where we need a minyan after to say Baruch Hu, and we need a minyan to do some of the things after Baruch Hu, a quorum of 10 Jewish adults. So Baruch Hu is getting the congregation's attention that the service is changing now. We're going from the warm-ups to the more serious, not the what was before was not serious, but the more intense, serious parts of the service. Annie.
Especially coming before the Shema, which is like, okay, listen, God, hear people, God is one. Well, why is God so important? Like, there's a setup here, and the setup to me, which goes back to why do we bless God? Like when you say to someone, you're a blessing, that is like an incredible, it's the highest compliment, in my opinion, that you could pay to someone. So for us to say that God is a blessing, like takes it like to the nth degree. So that's what I sort of take from it, that we're really saying this is the most blessed thing we have. I mean, even more than Torah is having God.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Norm?
I was just going to expand on that, and before Annie so beautifully spoke, I didn't mean to say expand on what Annie said, just another thought. If the Baruch Hu is the call and the dividing line, and now we're getting into serious business, then we do it again. It's like the serious of the serious, the holy of holies. We're further breaking from what we're doing. We're already in the holy area. Now we're getting into the real holy with a capital H when we're doing the Torah.
Absolutely. That's very similar, almost identical to like my theory on this is that, but what's happening before this? You take the Torah out, you walk around with it, people are kibitzing a little bit during that maybe, and you're touching the Torah, maybe you're singing a little song. So this is here, these two lines to like say, all right, stop talking, start paying attention, we're about to read the Torah. You have something else, Norm?
Yes. When do we read the Torah in a typical Reform congregation? When
Shabbat
does
morning.
TCS, other than a bar bat mitzvah or a particular holy day, when do we read the Torah?
You don't read every week?
You're referring to the fact that we don't have Shabbat morning services when there's not a bar.
Or
A
any
weekday.
other time the Torah comes out to be
Yeah.
read?
So yeah, so there aren't that many times on the high holy days. Occasionally we'll have a holiday morning service, like we had a Shavuot morning service one year. Shavuot evening service, we take the Torah out. So yeah, not as often as is traditional. Traditionally, you read Torah every Shabbat morning
Tuesday.
and every holiday morning service, and every Monday and Thursday
Monday, I thought it was Tuesday. Okay.
morning.
Yeah.
At our temple, it's basically Epinei Mitzvah and certain holidays, not that often. Okay, let's move on to the next little thing because I want to you know what? I want to come back to talking more about this. All right. I want to take a break from this discussion for us to read some Hebrew. Okay. I don't want to neglect that. So we're going to dive into the next chapter. We'll come back to this. I have more that I want to discuss with you about that blessing. But we're going to dive into chapter 5, which is page 72. So we have some review things at the top of the page. Hebrew participles can act as nouns or verbs. Common participle pattern is like in shomer or notain, that the o vowel and the a vowel. The forms of the participles, the word et, which is such a beautiful word because you don't have to translate it. And after the word bachar, the root bachar, which is about choosing, it doesn't take the direct object marker et, it takes the prefix bet. Right? So I'm going to put you into, we're going to be studying Avot now, which is the first section of the Amidah. Going to give you just a couple words of introduction that this is the first section of the Amidah. Does anybody know what the word Amidah means?
Silent? No.
No, it's not silent.
Personal prayer.
So it is a personal prayer and it is silent, but that's not what the word Amidah means. What the word Amidah means has to do with your physical orientation
Standing. No. Not standing.
when saying the prayer.
Standing.
Standing.
Yeah, that's
Standing.
what I
Thank you,
mean.
Ruthie. So Amidah means stand. It's known as the standing prayer. It has other names too, like the Shemona Esrei, which means the 18, because in the weekday Amidah there are 18 blessings. Then one was added and it was 19, and they didn't change the name.
One for good luck, like the cancer.
One for good luck, exactly. The first section is Avot. Avot means, does anybody know what Avot means?
No.
Ancestors or fathers, patriarchs. That's why some people call it avot ve'imahot, male ancestors and female ancestors. Other people call avot is like one of those Hebrew words, though, that it could be either a group of men or a group of men and women. So there is justification for calling it either one, as is your preference. So while you're practicing reading this, you could see if you recognize the names of any of our ancestors, male and female. However, I don't want you to read it on page 54. I would like you to read it on page 35B in the Siddur, if possible. If someone does not have this Siddur, you could read it out of here, but make sure that your partner is on the same page, literally.
35.
The reason is, one of the things that we'll talk about eventually, maybe not today, is that the words are different here than they are here. And this is a very common thing. We'll talk about why later. So I'm going to put you, any questions before I put you into your breakout groups? Penny, you got to go.
Now, because I've got to go and I don't want to, be.
Okay.
So thank you. It was great.
Okay.
Stay safe and
Bye,
well.
Penny.
Just on my
And I
own.
know you have a beautiful voice.
Okay.
I'll watch it.
Oh, you can come to morning service. Sometimes you'll hear me. Bye.
Have you been-
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
So let's see.
Let's see how many this is. What's that for?
So,
All right, here we go.
use it.
1, 2, 3. I'm going to see.
Yeah, this doesn't have the.
Okay,
You guys are back already.
Yep.
we are. That's a long one.
Yeah.
Good. Somehow I think when I chant it, when everyone's chanting, it goes real smooth. Here I was reading everything. I really could read it as
Well,
opposed
Ruthie,
to,
did you notice that this is a different text, that many of the words are different from what we do at TCS?
that may be part of it why the rhythm wouldn't be.
That's why I wanted you to read it out of this.
No, I was
Because
pulling,
there
it's
are-
all Annie's fault.
Okay, I know that between the two of you, there's a lot of temptation to chat it up.
We didn't chat.
No,
I'm
we
sure
didn't
not. I'm sure not.
No, we
Nothing
don't
wrong.
serious.
Of course not. Of course not.
Midsection.
That's part of the Chevruta experience.
Yeah, I do that when I'm with Rona. I love that Haruta though. That's good.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed
That's on her chair.
reading that. So I'm going to your homework for the week is going to be practicing reading that. And so I'm going to hold off the discussion of that until next week. The discussion of the meaning of this until next week. And we'll also go over singing it next week. All right. So for the homework will be to read it. And then we'll spend another week on the singing of it because I think it's important to get the words down. Now, some of you read it out of this book and some of you read it out of this book. The reason that I wanted you to read it out of this book is because this is what we do at TCS and the texts are different.
Okay, that's why it didn't flow.
It definitely was different.
Yeah, that's what I say. Why did usually I should know it almost automatically and I didn't. So that's why. Yeah.
Right. So without getting into too much of a discussion, I'll ask you to hold your questions about it. The reason is they both started with the same traditional text. But when the impulse among liberal Jews to add the matriarchs, to add our female ancestors to this prayer, there developed several different ways of doing it. So the original of this only mentions the male ancestors. So the way that it mentions the female ancestors and some of the associated language, people came up with different solutions to that problem. And so it appears differently in different Sidurim. We could talk more about that next week. We could compare them and look at some of the differences. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a picture of my page in this and
Oh, that's a good
include it
idea.
in the follow-up email. Okay.
I have
Good.
it.
So that way you could look at both of them for homework. All right. And we'll talk about some of the differences next time. Yes, Ruthie.
If we the B 35B is the female version. If we did 35A in our temple Sidurim, would that be the same universally in all texts? If it didn't have the
I
female?
believe so. I believe that 35A in our Sidur is the same as would appear in any Orthodox.
So they
Sidur.
that wouldn't be fooled around with. That's more codified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's only the changes for introducing the matriarchs.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do now, does anyone have any questions just about the reading, about specific words?
Nope.
Let's talk more about the Torah Aliyah blessings then. You could turn to them on page 142 of the Sidur or 54. Here we've got like just a couple of minutes to talk about it. You had a question, Steve?
I did. So you were talking about how we use the talit and we kiss the first word and then the last word in the blessings. I was thinking when the Torah is being carried around the temple, some people kiss with their talis, some take their prayer book, kiss the prayer book and touch it to the Torah and kiss it. I'm just wondering what is, if any, is the difference.
I've seen people also use their Sidur for the Aliyah blessing.
Oh,
So
Whatever you got.
here's what I can tell you about it. There might be more, but here's what I can tell you. So, first of all, kissing the Torah is basically just a sign of love and affection. I don't think there's much more to be said than that. Now, the idea of using something else to touch and kiss rather than kissing directly is a sign of reverence, of the holiness of not wanting to get too
familiar with the Torah?
familiar.
Okay.
When it's the Torah scroll itself, you don't want to touch your lips to the words on the Torah scroll, because just like you don't touch your fingers on it, because you want to protect the ink from being degraded. When it's carrying around the Torah, there are communities where people will walk up to the Torah and kiss the Torah cover with their lips, because it's a Torah cover. And there are other communities where that's not done. It's just a matter of what's done in your community. Becky?
Given the environment that we're in these days, I can't imagine anybody wanting to kiss a talit that's been hanging in the temple that's not theirs. You know, I think we need to come up with something else, something different.
You know what?
for
I think
people
you're right.
You know, we're not using our own talit usually. We're not using our own siddur. I don't know that many of us want to do that.
That is something that we're going to have to think about for when we return to
I
in-person
never
services.
thought of that, Becky. Yeah. You also
We all have to go out and get our own talits and
Well, we
talisim and.
well, we could have a Lysol wipe and use the Lysol wipe to do all those things.
Well, we're also probably not going to be wanting to like hugging and kissing each other, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, by the same token. So there's some more to be said about these blessings. We're not going to do it today as it's 2:15. We will get to it though. Any other parting words or questions, Norm?
You're muted, Norm.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I do want everybody to know, starting at 2:15, NASA is broadcasting the Mars landing, which is supposedly one of the more incredible feats of all time, landing this new rover on Mars.
Wow.
So if you want to watch it, it's going to be live.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay. I don't know the website. It's a NASA site.
I think we could all do a computer search and find it.
All right, David, thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Everybody stay safe and well.
Nice
Bye.
to see you all.